Hello and welcome to another edition of Soccer to the Max. And here with me, as always, Mr. Erik Watkins.
All my team's just trying to lose now. I can't even escape.
Uh,
I don't get it.
I'm sorry. Hey, that playoff race is it's going to get even tighter with some of the other results that have happened in Major League Soccer. We'll get to that maybe we'll get to that at the end, of course, with the supporters club. But of course, I am your host, Sean Garmer here. This is a wonderful soccer podcast. So we talk about various things involving the world of soccer, usually with more of an American type tinge, but we do get into the European side of things too. So here's what is on the docket today on this show. So it's going to be a little bit of hodgepodge because there's a lot of, we're just coming off the international break. I know people are tired of hearing about international stuff at this point because hey, we're back into domestic football. We know what's going on there and all that. And as we dive more into like we'll actually have the full week out of that. I think next week we'll be able to have more of a domestic flavor to this. But there's some things that have come up that we didn't do a show on last Sunday because we had the U.S. men's national team episode. Which thank you to everybody that watched or listened to that. We appreciate you there with the U.S. coming off that big win, and then of course getting to go around CONCACAF there. But so here's what's on the docket. We have a very interesting story that Erik is going to talk about that somehow ended up in attempted murder charges. We have the last remnants of what happened with these last qualifiers for CONCACAF and some penalties that have been handed out to some of the teams for some extracurriculars that happened uh, in certain countries. And also, we have the new coach of Honduras, which is an old coach for CONCACAF. If you remember when Panama qualified in 2018, a certain Bolillo has made his return back to CONCACAF again. And we're going to continue with the NWSL and what's been kind of going on with that. Some of the bigger stories coming out of that since the last time we had a show, and of course we're going to talk about where Ricardo Pepi should wind up because he's drawn a lot of interest from various clubs. Should he go to the Netherlands? Should he go to Germany, Italy, or maybe somewhere else? Maybe somewhere else even bigger. We'll have to discuss that as it goes along, and then of course we will also talk about the latest with the Biennial World Cup and interesting things with a possible new international match calendar that is being proposed by one Arsene Wenger, and whether we agree with it or not. So, since your story is a little bit, it has nothing to do really with. I mean, it has to do with soccer because it happened on the soccer pitch, but
Mm-hmm.
this goes beyond soccer here, Erik. William Ribeiro, who plays for, used to play now, played for Sao Paulo, a Sport Club Sao Paulo in the Brazilian soccer league. Man, I don't think there is something about getting angry at a referee, right? Getting in their face, but he took it really to the next level. Something that like out of a horror. I mean, it's appropriate that we're in October. This is almost like out of a horror movie.
It really is. So we all know that football is a religion in Brazil. We've accepted this. So in that way, it sort of makes sense. But this is for Sport Club Sao Paulo against Guarani Rio Grande do Sul in not the national competition, the Brasileirão. This is in Rio Grande do Sul's state league's second division. Keep that in mind when I'm saying this. So Ribeiro, who was terminated because of this, during a very, very heated match, at the beginning of the second half, he didn't like some of the calls and things that were going on. So what does he do? He goes up and attacks flat out just attacks referee Rodrigo Crivellaro, kicking him just square in the head. Done. Poor referee is out cold, is unconscious, was taken to the hospital, and was out for a couple days. Finally woke up like out of a coma and was like,
and just because he got a yellow card too, Eric. Like,
yeah,
not even like, oh, he got sent off or like, I mean, good Lord.
yeah. So thankfully the referee woke up, he was doing better. He was able to give what he could of his account because he honestly did not remember what happened for obvious reasons.
I mean, would
So
you remember what happened if you got punched in the face and then got
yeah,
kicked like that?
if I got kicked in the head and all of that and stomped and everything starts up, I'd be damn lucky if I could remember. So
Oof.
yeah, after all of this, Rio Grande do Sul came out and said his contract's terminated. We're cooperating.
Right move.
Appropriate charges. Yeah, so
That dude should never see the field again, honestly, professionally.
No. And again, for a yellow card, and it's not like you're trying to make a case for a big club and have a spot in Seleção.
No. There's no excuse for ever doing any of that for what
it's
that
not,
guy did.
but it's even worse that you're in a position as State League Second Division, one of the smaller State League's second divisions. Come on, man. Just take your card and go out and play football. No excuse to do this.
No, none. It's insane to me that this is a thing that it's like, I mean, it's like the referee said, this guy has to have problems. He has to have some kind of mental
major problems,
issues. Like, there is anger, and then there is like beyond whatever this was. It's just wow. I mean, to the attempted murder charge because you almost could have killed this man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally. I mean,
yeah. If he doesn't wake up, it's murder. Done and dusted.
Oh no, yeah, totally. I mean, but that's insane to. I mean, there's like getting in the referee's face. There's calling him a bunch of names. There's whatever, but I mean, for a yellow card, you're gonna go and do that? I mean, imagine what would have been red.
Oh God!
What would he have done at that point? I mean, I don't know how much more. I mean, are we talking about like multiple kicks to the head? Is like, wow, it's insane to me.
It was bad because he even said after being kicked to the ground and then was kicked some more, or
yeah,
it was just horrible. So now he doesn't have a lawyer to defend him, so he's got the case in the hands of a public defender. So we'll see how the process of the trial goes and what comes of it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine this is going to wind up good for him, period. But thankfully, the referee is going to be okay, and that's what matters in this. Honestly, it doesn't really necessarily matter too much what happens to this guy. Hopefully, there is some justice served, and he gets at least banned from the sport.
Oh, yeah.
If anything, it's upsetting that you're having to advocate for somebody to, not continue to maybe able to make a living in something that he does, but
yeah. And I do have to give a shout out to John, who is already commenting about talking and sending hate mail. He was the one who gave me this story, so I was like, I gotta investigate this and throw it in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's getting much more than hate mail at this point, but that's a nice start, at least, for sure. So, I mentioned that there was some headlines coming out of the CONCACAF game, or the CONCACAF games from the last cycle, the rounds 4 through 6. First of all, should note that there have been some penalties handed down to 3 countries: El Salvador, Honduras, and Panama. All of them have penalties handed down. Of course, You remember when we were talking about the ultimate CONCACAF game that was going on in the U.S. game against Panama and Estadio Romel Fernandez? Well, Panama got fined $54,000, I guess, for this, and they're gonna have that. Well, they also got $54,000 for the homophobic chants that were in the match against Costa Rica and against Mexico, and they also
Oof.
got their stadium is closed to fans for their next game at home against El Salvador for what happened in the U.S. game with the fans getting onto the fields and everything. Also, El Salvador is going to have El Cusaclan closed on the number 12th match against Jamaica. That's going to really favor Jamaica. If we thought that there was a game that Jamaica really had to get those 3 points, they really got helped a lot by this decision here. And they were also
Major
fined
relief.
yes, $32,500 for fans entering the field and laser pointers against the U.S. game and the U.S. game back in September. So there is that going on. And of course, Honduras has 2 sections of the Estadio Olímpico Metropolitano closed for their November 12th match against Panama for the homophobic chants that happened during the match against the USA, and they were fined $65,000 for that. So good on CONCACAF or FIFA for that matter for handing down punishments for this. And there's also investigations against Honduras for the matches against Jamaica and Costa Rica as well. So Honduras could face even bigger penalties for all of this, but at least they know who's going to be their next coach, Erik. And this is
Yeah.
a legend when it comes to CONCACAF. And well, not just CONCACAF, basically the Americas in general, because this man, Hernan Dario Gomez, known, more well known as El Bolillo Gomez, if you watch any kind of Spanish, soccer coverage, he is, he was just a club coach for El Independiente Medellin over there in Colombia, and he's coached the Colombia national team in the past, as well, taking them to a World Cup. But he also is famous for when Ecuador went to the World Cup, and they performed well. And then Panama in 2018, of course, when they went to the World Cup.
I
So,
still have that announcer chant in my head the
yeah,
moment Panama qualified. I'm like, oh, at least I better just do something.
yeah. I mean, but think about it. Like, it's a crazy moment for Panama in that moment to get and make it there, and then to have El Bollo Gomez be the coach, and they did decently. So, and so here he comes. Ecuador in 2002, Panama 2018, and he's also coached Guatemala before as well. So here he comes to try his hand at Honduras. They're sitting there at the bottom of the table right now. Do you think he has a chance to improve the team? With all that pedigree?
I mean, with a lot of it, and you're talking about not quite big names, but very historically important names. He's done a lot with, in some cases, a little or maybe a decent amount. I don't necessarily know how far he can take them coming in so late, but I really think if he can get entrenched, especially with the November window, come January, March, you could see a very well improved Honduras team. Maybe it's, again, too far out to start thinking about that qualification spot, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how that's kind of what's being fought for at the pretty much between
Hmm.
all those teams at the bottom. Uh, but the one way they can really make that a fight is Honduras has to get 3 point, even without the fans, 3 points at home against Panama. That is a
Hmm.
must. As well, but Panama also needs that to try to keep pace if they want to get into those 3 qualification for sure spots.
Right.
So, and with Jamaica and El Salvador playing each other, and you're already facing even more, an uphill battle, and then you got to go and play in San Juan against Costa Rica. So that's not easy to do, even though you're such an American country and you're used to like battling each other all the time. That's a rough task and a very important one for Dario Gomez to go and have to basically his feet are put to the fire almost immediately, and you have to provide results.
Yeah, but I mean, in some ways, though, with something like this, I wouldn't mind a baptism by fire because, all right, we have this big test, we have some things important. What do I have right now? And you can learn a lot of what you got and what you need from those big matches rather than just from build-ups. So I don't necessarily think, setting the world on fire, but at the very least, if they can get something close, it's like, all right, this is what I need. This is what I need to tweak. And I think they could be a dangerous team. So, and you could learn quite a bit. So this, an even more important game to watch.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. You've got to. It's this is a big deal right now for Honduras. They have to do something here, or basically they're making this coaching change for nothing at this point. So, I mean, if you don't do something about this right now, it's basically a waste of time, and it's a falter for those players, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're now having to fight against this at the moment, and it. I worry for Honduras as somebody that my step family is from there, and I always kind of have some kind of partiality to how Honduras does. Um, I feel for everyone out there, Los Catrazos fans, but maybe Dario Gomez can give you some hope,
Mm-hmm.
and you never know. They make the big turnaround. They certainly have the talent, Eric, and that's the thing
Yeah.
is Honduras with the talent they have. It's incredible that they are underperforming so much as they are, and they really shouldn't be. And I think
No.
that's the federation is right to be upset and want to fire the coach. This is not. I mean, to be fair, like the octagonal, if you made it that far, you should be performing way better than you are.
Of course.
But I mean, this is not like El Salvador, who you could say Hugo Perez is doing what he can with the team and everything. This is a team that has been to a World Cup before. This is a team that is expected to perform. Is expected to be one of the big teams in CONCACAF. And when you are sitting at the bottom like they are, I mean,
Yeah. And even thinking forward, not just, all right, what are you going to do for the rest of this World Cup cycle, pushing for that qualification spot? But then it's like, all right, building upon this, next edition of the CONCACAF Nations League, and then the next Gold Cup coming up. So not quite super long term, all the way between World Cup cycles, but even now and going forward, just in CONCACAF, it's like, okay, we got to show who we really are and what we have been, and getting back to that. Then you do that, you could start looking forward to 2026 from there. So, building blocks, all about the building blocks.
oh yeah, for sure. You got to start somewhere, and this is
Mm-hmm.
what they're going to try to do come November right now for Honduras. So let's get into it, Eric. There's plenty to talk about here in the Manchester United moment of our show. Oh, my Lord. I mean, we talked about this schedule that is happening that pretty much
Mm-hmm.
starts with this game here. And boy, did the team just absolutely, well, within the first 20 minutes, you thought maybe they're going to really do something here. And, you know, makes agreement with an absolute belter and he puts the team on the score sheet, and oh my lord, it is amazing for Man United. So,
and I mean, if I didn't have such a particular, specific vested interest in Leicester City, if you know what I mean, I would be a lot angrier. But with something like that and some of our offensive performance, at least with getting those 2 goals, I would have been happier, even if it was 2-2. But even at the end, those last like 15, 20 minutes, we just crumbled.
no,
Couldn't
I
do
mean,
anything in the box.
yeah, there was some positives in Mason Greenwood, and of course Marcus Rashford getting to come back and get that amazing goal that he got with a wonderful, volley over the top from Lindelof as well to put him in. But my lord, I mean, did Harry Maguire like not have his coffee that morning, or what was it? I mean,
Apparently not.
he
Apparently
was
not.
asleep. I don't know how many times. Iheanacho nutmegged him at the beginning of the game. Then he catches him napping on that first goal where he just you come up to the ball. Come up to the ball. De
Make a
Gea's passing. Yeah.
make a challenge. Step up. Have something so that way you can get
Well,
a
it's
position
like
clear.
De Gea passes on the ball, and then he's kind of like,
Okay, what do I
what?
do with it?
What?
Huh?
Oh,
What?
it's coming. And then before he knows it, Iheanacho has stolen it off his foot. And there it goes for the goal that winds up happening to Tielemans, which is absolutely fantastic goal as well. And then, okay, well, game on, 1-1, whatever. Been 1-1 for a while. And then all of a sudden, here comes the goal again. A fantastic goal for Leicester off a corner. And then Rashford gets his, and then immediately they don't even get to celebrate. They're like done celebrating. They're about to start again, and then Vardy hits that goal. And my lord, it was just like, wow,
You
this is not going
forgot
to
how
be their
dangerous
day.
of a striker Vardy is. And
Yeah,
you're always vulnerable right with that. And then they go,
yeah.
like you said, right up the pitch. And
And
it's like,
once again, like nobody.
mm-mm.
I mean, Wan-Bissaka was the only one that actually tried on that play. He got booked for that tackle. But then, like Bettis takes 3 guys with him and then brings the ball in.
Mm-hmm.
Great move by him, by the way. And then, like, it's like all alone right there, the worst guy you could possibly. And then what's everybody else doing? They're all way back here,
Yep.
and nobody's stepping to him, nothing. So leave him wide open for that. And then the fourth goal, when you still have a chance, you got 5 minutes left of injury time. Lots of stuff can happen.
Oh,
Harry
yeah.
Maguire falls asleep again. He just lets Daka go right by him, boop, at the back post, and credit to him. Zimbabwe International get it in there
Yeah.
for his first
I
goal
mean,
coming from
that,
Salzburg.
yeah, coming from like Salzburg and having that insight, especially right there inside the 18, it's like, okay, wait, I got my defender off. Thank you very much. Just, I don't get it. I'm
It
writing this as a one-off because
no,
I
it's not a
feel,
one-off. It's not a one-off, Eric. It's the team is just Ronaldo was not around, and this one it really was 2 moments again. It was a bunch of players on the pitch doing stuff. There
mm-hmm,
wasn't a lot of combination. It was Mason Greenwood having to do his own thing to get a goal, which he done. He had another opportunity like that just didn't hit for him earlier in the game. And then Rashford, yeah, he gets that great ball, but he has to do a lot as well. And that's it. That's your 2 moments of brilliance. Then it's like defending gone awry for the rest of the game. The whole middle of the park is just open season for Leicester constantly. And Nacho was a beast for large parts of that game. I mean, it was insane to me. Like it doesn't seem like Manchester United. And then again, it's you're gonna play the double pivot, and then we basically have Pogba, who's not a holding midfielder, who
no.
has to go join the attack. So you're leaving it all on Matic to try to stand in front of the back four. That doesn't work. I mean, I don't understand him with I get he's trying to play what he probably feels is his best 11 and
But at the
trying
same
to get
time,
as much attacking power, but
yeah, but at the
I don't think
same
it works.
time, if this is Solskjaer's best 11, have a system that your best 11 fits. We
That's the
talked
problem. They don't
about
have
the
a system. They don't have a system. There's no style of play. There's no, oh, well, we know what they're going to do. We don't. They go out and they hope that somebody scores out of the amazing talent that they have. I mean, look, tell me, Erik, that you know what Manchester United are going to do when they go out and play. Do you?
aside from a lot of pushing forward, trying to lump the ball into Ronaldo, no.
No. But
No.
like that's the point though. Like there's not even okay, Sancho had that one moment where he cuts in, right? And then he gives it to Ronaldo and Schmeichel has to make the like arm save, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the few times that you see like there's an actual pattern of play like and there's not even like oh let's try to bomb the byline with Luke Shaw or something and cross in it. I'm like we're not even doing that. We're just it's like okay have we thought of playing somebody up there with Ronaldo instead of
Yes, and
just
this is
Ronaldo by himself? I
and
mean,
these are the kinds of things
yeah.
that I was thinking. If you're going to try to do a 4-3-3, have the right 4-3-3, your wingers to go ahead and help him.
No, but
Otherwise, you should
they don't play
go ahead and
4-3-3.
so then what was the whole thing
They're
about this?
playing a 4-2-3-1
So then
where
what was
Ronaldo's up
all
there
of
by
this?
himself.
So then what was all of this with Solskjaer going ahead, making these purchases and saying, oh, well, I'm going to change to a 4-3-3. I'm going to abandon the 4-2-3-1.
He never
Follow
abandoned
through
it.
with
It's the
this.
same thing. I don't understand what he's doing in these international breaks that you're not like thinking of something because something has to change because it's not working and you have even tougher opponents as you get along with this. So I mean the schedule gets worse for them here. You have to do something. But what I worry about is Solskjaer is not going to do anything different. It's going to be the same thing. When you see him against Atalanta, it's going to be the same thing. And we're going to keep going down this road. And because the Glazers aren't going to put any pressure on him, and nobody's going to put any pressure on him
And
because they don't want to rattle the cage. Like,
but they should because the fans already are. I mean, I
yeah,
have seen so many Ole is at the wheel memes, good and bad. It's like fans are going to notice and they're going to
yeah.
want change. And they've already expressed they will do whatever it takes to get change.
Yeah, I mean, and all you see in these reactions when somebody scores is like the like I'm mad, but I'm not like totally mad. And there's no like getting at the players or anything. It's like, listen, dude, I guess maybe it's on you, maybe because he just looks out of it. And then I guess it's gonna take Ronaldo having a fit or something for the Glazers to finally like. Is he gonna have to come out in the media and go, "I made the wrong decision. I should have gone to Manchester City" for them to make a difference here? Because it's just mind-boggling to me the way they have played recently. And the thing that's weird though, Erik, is we know what's going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get some. It's going to be another one of those Villarreal situations. They're going to get enough of those where they score late enough where the other team can't draw, and they're going to get enough results where we'll see. We're still in it. We're still there, and then you're still like 10 points behind Chelsea and City and everybody else. And it's like, cool, you got third, right? Or fourth or whatever, but shouldn't you be striving for more than that?
Especially
If
when the kind of seasons like this where we're supposed to be title contenders. We're supposed to be closing the
yeah,
gap
I
to
mean,
City. And now with
what do you go and sign these players for? To keep going with the project? I hope not.
I wouldn't think so,
Right?
but at this point, who knows?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think even Oli knows. I don't think Oli knows what that is at this point. But that's been the Manchester United moment of our show. Let's move on because I'm sure many non-Manchester United fans are like, y'all just keep talking about this, and we're kind of done with that at the moment. But something that has continued to be a thing, even during all this international break and everything else, is the continued what's going on with the NWSL post the scandal with Paul Riley and all of this has come out with the sexual abuse and verbal and emotional abuse from various coaches and basically the league just not protecting its players. And of course, remember the resignation of Commissioner Lisa Baird and everything else. So
after another set of emails came out from Alex Woodland, like saying, "We've got receipts."
Yep. And then even like kind of just allegations of stuff that apparently Lisa Baird knew and kind of just ahí está la escoba, there's the broom, there it goes. Let's just forget about it so we can get those national TV deals and all that stuff. But this is where the rubber meets the road for me. And the first thing I think that's important is the NWSL Players Association has come out and made demands that I think are very much fair and should be followed by all of the clubs, honestly. And for me, the most important one is that every single one of these clubs, every single one of these league office staff, and anybody that was in a position of power needs to adhere to an investigation. Why? Because you need to get all of this out right now. You need to get rid of it. Like it's like the bed bug. When the bed bugs bite you, I'm sorry if I got ghetto for somebody. Like get all the crap out. Like throw the mattress out, throw all the furniture out, throw it all out there.
Fumigate the whole house. The works.
Burn it down. Burn it down internally. Get all the pieces of S out and start fresh. Because this is the only way you're gonna make headway at all. Is let's end the root of it. There's no more. Anybody that allowed any of this to continue to happen needs to be out, because if you leave people in, it will just deep-seated continue to simmer there. I mean, because this way, if you do hire another male coach after this, and you know what, female coaches can also still verbally abuse players and emotionally abuse players.
There's been some examples.
Right. It's not just male coaches, but when you get to that point of making those hires, right? Hey, this is what's in front of you. Like, you bet we're watching you. There's people in line. This stuff's going to be reported. We have basically a watchdog group that's there to allow the players to make anonymous reports now.
Yeah, and on top of all the watchdog group, which is fantastic, being able to make reports anonymously, that's also fantastic. As the saying goes, the fish rots at the head. Get rid of everybody who is this. So when you get new people in place, however deep it goes, if you're sticking with the committee, new commissioner, whatever, have these processes in place, even at a club level. So when you're in the midst of making these hires, whatever they are, do a thorough background check and investigation to see if there was anything troubling that could even pop up. And then if anything happens, it's like, all right, this is your record with this is your record with that. Just so you are aware, yes, you're stepping into this. And then, like you said, we've got the watchdog groups. There's going to be eyes on you. Anything that happens, we're going to know about it. And if we don't like it, you're gone. Simple.
Yeah. I mean, it would definitely make people have to, mind their P's and Q's a lot more. Knowing that this is around. And that's good. I mean, this is the way it should have been without having the need for this. But if this is what it takes to finally eradicate this from women's soccer and just women's sports in general, but you got to start somewhere. do this, and once again, the women's soccer league did play their games, but they stopped play in the 6th minute of each game to recognize the 6 years that it took for the reports to come out, and for all of this to unravel that what happened with Paul Riley there. And
Yeah.
as a result of that, Portland Thorns had put their general manager Gavin Wilkinson on administrative leave due to the investigation that's going on into why he was hired in the first place, even though he had all of the other precedents in front of him. So good on the league, good on the team
Mhm.
for doing this, and let's see what
This is
happens with an independent investigation. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a matter of accountability, and with this investigation, that's showing a lot of good faith to the players, saying, "Hey, we are serious about this. We're going to be the one step up." And hopefully, I would at least think any other club with something like this, they step up and do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why you have what the NWSL are asking for, is so that you can make sure that this stuff does get outed, so that okay, we're not hiring this guy
Right.
again. So uh, I mean, we can say what we want and all that, but until you see the change, and you have to start it here, like I said,
Yeah. You're
and this is
starting
part of that process.
doing this with Portland. What's going on with the Washington Spirit, the ownership? Finally saying, okay, I'm going to sell my stake. I'm out. These are the kind of
Yeah.
constructive changes that you need to start happening if you want to even get your league back on a solid footing. Not just, okay, we're listening here and changing our side of our championship game, going a lot more thorough and doing this all around.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing, like you just alluded to, Eric, which is the other part of this. Um, Steve Baldwin, the Washington Spirit co-owner, up until a few days ago, he had refused to sell his
Mm-hmm.
stake in the team to Michelle King. Like he wasn't going to do it. He didn't want to allow her to be the pretty much sole owner of the team, and now he has finally caved. He really should have just done that from the beginning, but at least it's now done. And again, more progress being made slowly but surely. This is going to be a long process that
Oh, yeah.
we won't really see, I think, the fruits of until the season is over and there's been a larger rest within the teams, and everybody can kind of start really looking at, okay, who is who in all of our teams is shouldn't be involved anymore, and then start proceeding with the next season. But I'm very it's I'm glad to see this stuff happening,
Mm-hmm.
but again, it's all baby steps right now.
Oh,
None of
yeah. You would
so
hope by the time that the 2022 season is about to start, then you'll be seeing some more, if not even wholesale stuff, something more concrete throughout the rest of this year and through the off season to say, all right, new year, this is where we really are.
yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, this affects your audience, right? This affects
Mm-hmm.
your especially your season ticket holders, your families that are going to the game. I mean, and it affects youth soccer, right? It affects I
Oh,
have
yeah.
a used to be my stepmom. Her niece is a very prominent youth soccer player, and she looks like she wants to make this a thing where she eventually does play in NWSL and everything. And I'm sure that that's making them have to think about that, of like, okay, well now, like how many of the youngsters that are going to college right now are looking at that and going
Hmm.
like, well, that's the league I'm going to enter, right? I want to make sure that it's safe for me.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
like this is and a giant thing that you need to make sure you do this correctly, because you could really lose fans and viewers and everything else if you handle this the wrong way. So um, NWSL really needs to be upfront about everything. Anytime a story comes out, just be upfront and be like, look, we're working on it. This is another person that we are now removing from the league, removing from. I mean, they're lucky that they have not lost any sponsors yet,
Hmm.
and they've actually been supportive of the players and everything. So that's also a positive thing, that we haven't just seen this mass uh, sponsorship like loss like we saw with FIFA. What happened with them with the big scandal that they had. So
Right.
that's a positive thing for the league too. Because they have this deal with CBS and they really need to take advantage of it while they haven't. And if they don't improve and do what they're doing, I mean, chances of a renewal is difficult uh, in that end. So hopefully things can continue to improve in NWSL, and I'm sure again this will be a continuing story. There'll be more things going on with it as the weeks go by. So let's turn our attention to Major League Soccer here, and one player for FC Dallas in particular, Ricardo Pepi. Obviously, people already crowning him the El Tren, the savior, the number 9 of U.S. soccer. I mean, above anyone else, that's the guy that's got to be on the team sheet every time they play a game. As far as U.S. men's national team is concerned, Eric, we've been a part of this hoopla, covering all the games and everything. But of course,
We're passengers on the Peppy hype train. We
exactly, we
don't
are
deny it.
passionate. We don't. But what's important for Ricardo Pepi and all of this is where he plies his trade next. Whether that's there are a lot of possibilities apparently, because he's getting a lot of attention right now thanks to what he's been doing with the U.S. men's national team, and even attention from some bigger clubs that you wonder, oof, is that too much of a move? But we'll get into this. So the reported ones that we have up until this moment are Genoa in Italy, Wolfsburg, which also is where John Brooks plays right now. So you have an American connection there, and the Ajax, which we have talked about before. Of course, the big Dutch team there in the Netherlands league. And I mean, we've seen Josie Altenberg go to PSV, Aaron Johansson as well play in the Dutch league. We saw Michael Bradley. So a lot of Americans have played in the Dutch league before. Obviously, all the American contingent that have played in the Bundesliga previously, and of course, as we see, with Brian Reynolds and some Gianluca Busio and oh my God, Tanner Tessman, both playing at Venezia right now. So uh, you know, that's the thing is, where does he move, Eric? Like, where do you think, considering now, this is why I think that maybe should he move at all? That's it's two questions, because there's a while till the World Cup,
There
right?
is.
Like,
Hmm.
you don't need to be not playing, as is the case with, say, like a Ethan Horvath, right? Where like you're not really seeing, or even a Zach Steffen. Could you say that some of why he played the way he did in the Costa Rica game is because he has not been playing, right? You can make that case. So, what's important for you, Eric, as a U.S. men's national team fan, also as someone that is covering them and talking about them for the show and the things? What is important for you? Do you play week in and week out, or go somewhere else, learn your trade from another team, have other players around you that are worldly and have been in that situation. What do you think is best, let's say, in the year and a half that we have until World Cup 2022? Because after that, kind of not that big a deal. You have more time, right? You have more time to
Right.
settle yourself and whatever. So what do you think is important for him?
Now, I'm looking at this from two sides. From Pepe's perspective, he's in a great rhythm. Yes, you could argue that even with a team like with FC Dallas, maybe not one of the best teams like longer term for MLS, but they have the great academies and they know they have their ceiling, but you can at least adapt yourself to regular play, hone some of your main skills, and you're showing those off for the US national team. So if I'm from Pepe's perspective, I really don't change a thing yet. But if I'm from the business perspective of SC Dallas, you're playing like a little bit of a gamble because he is doing this well now. You have your valuations now, including the reported deal with Wolfsburg, which is supposedly could be done within weeks. We don't know. Again, it's all conjecture. So it seems like on that part it would be decided. But do you go ahead knowing we're less than a year and a half out? See how well he continues to do, see how well he does at the World Cup should the US qualify, then hate to bring like this side of it, his valuation goes up sky high. Granted, even though MLS with the league as it is, you're still going to be in a position to be able to ask for even more, knowing the kind of talent you have. So I would lean a bit more towards waiting, but if it is indeed Wolfsburg, I wouldn't mind because yes, you are in eine Bundesliga. Yes, you're in a very solid team, but there's going to still be more immediate opportunities for you to play. Ajax, yes, they're one of the top of the heap in Eredivisie, but you also have to take into account what are the things going on behind the scenes with the Eredivisie as the development of the Beneliga comes up. That's not going to be a direct factor on the pitch, but at the same time, if you're going to be at Ajax for a while, a multi-year contract, what is your level of competition all of a sudden going to be? Is that going to work in your favor? And for Genoa, similar situation to Wolfsburg. You know Serie A, you have some of your American talent there. You know, for a team like Genoa, if they want you, you're going to be coming in and at least making a strong push to get minutes in the starting 11. But it's a situation for me, you can go ahead and wait and see. And if everybody just waits and sees, they may pay off more in the end at the end of the calendar year 2022 rather than right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm leaning towards as well. Is if you're really thinking about just having him be the best he could possibly be for the World Cup,
Mm-hmm.
I think staying at FC Dallas is perhaps the best opportunity for him to do that because you know he's going to start. You
Mm-hmm.
know he is your striker. He is your number 9. He is your guy that you lean on. And up there with Jesus Ferreira, who he plays with and knows very well, you know they can be a force, right? And you know that has served him well for the time being and with the U.S. men's national team. And that's really all you need is for him to keep doing that. And he
Well,
will continue to be improved because he's nobody got that instinct, right? It's not like
mm-hmm.
he's going to lose it.
No.
He's going to really just keep improving that, honestly, as he continues to play. So that's something to look at. But there is something to be said for, okay, let's say you're going to make the move in January, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if Ajax comes calling? and there's the opportunity to be playing in the Champions League as a Jordan P. Folk or Brendan Aronson or some of these other guys, Weston McKinney and some of these other guys are doing, right? Um, would that be enticing for him to just be like, well, I could possibly get an opportunity there, in trading, I'm playing with all these terrific players on one of the best Dutch teams. I could go win
Mhm.
trophies somewhere else, but it's at the expense of how much playing time in games am I actually getting?
And
You
this
know,
is just it. You know you're not really getting Champions League football with the other two. You don't have that much prestige. But if you
right?
want to
Well,
continue to
Wolfsburg, you do,
well,
right?
yeah, Wolfsburg, yes. But if you want that continued level of improvement, you've got to be on the pitch. And lest we forget the time frame we're talking right now, he can make this move in January. What levels of travel are going to be affected for the remainder of those 2022 qualifying windows? To me, that is another significant question mark. At least him being based here in the States through all this,
Right.
it's a lot easier.
Well, but also during those months, MLS is on a break, right? So then you're not playing at all. So,
True.
I mean, that's the thing is like, if we're including these qualifiers as important, he needs to be playing all the time. There's that, but then
Hmm.
also you go to these games and maybe you're not playing. Like at least with Wolfsburg, you have the connection with John Brooks, who although he
Yep.
apparently has fallen kind of out of favor and out of form, he wasn't picked for the last round. He was picked, and then Walker Zimmerman replaced him and played pretty well. So, man, if he doesn't play much for Wolfsburg in the lead up to the number of matches, I wonder if you can really consider calling him in. So, like, but you do have that connection there, right? However little it is, and you do have the connection of having other players, a Gio Reyna, a Joe Scally, um, playing in Matthew Hoppy played there. He can talk to him about it. Of playing in the league and kind of getting together and being able to talk about what that's like and everything. So there's opportunities there. Like why you say, oh well, why aren't you guys talking about Genoa? Well, Genoa, has your Weston McKinney and Brian
Hmm.
Reynolds and so forth, right? But and see, like my thing with that is he really should be able to have the opportunity to go to Venezia, but he can't because you can only have two non-EU players registered
Yeah.
per season. So you already have Tanner um, Tessman, and you also have Busio. So are you going to drop Tessman to bring in Pepi for that, or Genoa? Like, no, they're a team that's kind of there, middling for Serie A. I mean, he could probably play some minutes there, but is that the best choice for him? Right? Like the
Right.
other two, Wolfsburg is kind of more top of the league, and obviously Ajax is for the Dutch. Like, what do you want, right? Like, perhaps Genoa, he gets more playing time because you have more competition for spots there. Whereas, Wolfsburg and Ajax, you kind of have your set squad and you're just bringing in reinforcements, right? You have to wait for an injury. You have to wait for something
Right.
to happen for him to get that opportunity. So, like, for me, I'm really looking at it like, as much as I am always for somebody moving on and doing better for themselves, the dude is just 18 years old,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, although yes, you have 18-year-olds and all that playing right now in Europe, you can also wait till you're 19 or
Hmm.
wait till you're 20 and then go out there. I mean,
Yeah.
not always are you gonna take to it right away, like Brendan Aronson or Tyler Adams or whatever. Like sometimes you're gonna struggle, right? And you only get a few opportunities when you go from being as much as you want to say, oh man, he should do it. It doesn't matter, even though we have Christian Pulisic playing for Chelsea and all that. There's still the stigma with Americans playing in
Especially,
Europe.
there's the stigma with the Americans playing in Europe, and there's the pressure of when everybody looks at you at a
Yeah.
wunderkind.
Right.
You have to
Yeah.
live up to a lot when people are looking at you like this. And the minute that you can't, then all of a sudden, poof.
Yeah. And it's not
Poof.
just that, it's also like there's a shorter leash, right? So
Much shorter.
he doesn't show a lot in the particular game that he gets an opportunity. He may not get another opportunity, especially up front, right? Like you're playing up front, you're the striker, you got to go get goals, man. So if if you hit him like Josie Altidore sometimes did when he would play for some of the English teams or whatever, or even Villarreal, like okay, cool, we'll keep you in the lineup. But as soon as that form dips, you may not see him for another 5 or 6 games, and that's affecting him, when he's coming in that window. So I don't know. For me, I feel like if he thinks that that's the best move for him to go to Wolfsburg, if that's the deal that winds up happening, then awesome. I think Germany is a great. We've seen so many Americans go there and flourish and then move on or stay there and keep doing their thing. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily.
Not at all. Not
Um,
at all.
but I think for me, perhaps staying in MLS until after the World Cup is perhaps
Yeah. Because
also
it,
not a bad move either.
no, because again, if we keep this pace, we qualify, he has a good tournament. That valuation is going to be
Oh yeah,
much, much
yeah.
higher come January of 2023 than it is right now.
Oh yeah, for sure it is. So you're talking about that as being a major thing for Ricardo Pepi, and then also like there's rumors of I think Monica was talking about him for Real Madrid, and some folks are looking at him for Chelsea. Like those are some big clubs, and I think a move like that you don't need to make right now because you
No.
definitely are not going to be playing. You're probably going to get loaned out somewhere, like we saw with Brahim Diaz, like we see with Matt Miazga and some other players. Like you're going to get loaned out probably, and well, that's fine. You're still learning. You're learning your craft somewhere else. Why not just go to that team and play for that team instead of
Exactly.
do all that? So, but again, perhaps maybe by the time we talk to you next week, that deal is done, and we're sitting here talking about nothing because he's already a Wolfsburg player. But it's at least good to be able to bring that opportunity up,
Oh, yeah. It's
and
always
talk
good
about it.
to know this is a continuation of another part of our generation of talent, at least being sought after. Whereas
Yeah,
before, not that long ago, we were seen as one of those football backwaters. Then all of a sudden, we started getting good. All of a sudden, started dipping your toes, and now we're moving
and
up to this.
that's where it's nice to see Greg Berhalter going with the young talent
Yep,
instead of going with the old dudes, the old bodies. Because why? Because these are the kids that can grow and learn and go to those teams and make a difference and not. I mean, aside from like a Clint Dempsey or Landon Donovan, which were proven guys, right? Like, not saying that Michael Bradley had bad stints in some of the places he played with Josie Alter, but it's just like, man, don't need to keep relying on those guys when you have these young guys here that can do this. So let's go on to one of our other main topic here, which is the Biennial World Cup continues to be a thing. Gianni Infantino is now considering whether he's going to have that FIFA Congress to do the voting in December between the 211 nations. And the thing is, Europe and CONMEBOL are getting very, very frustrated with this, and they are possibly, according to Danish Federation Chairman Jesper Møller, who is in charge of kind of representing the Nordic countries, that Europe may even go as far as blocking the Biennial World Cup by leading FIFA, and possibly CONMEBOL could join them and trying to force FIFA's hand to drop it, because then they
Please,
would go on their own international calendar.
please tell me we could get some outlaw tournaments. Oh, please tell me. Oh, this would be so epic in so many ways. Oh man,
Yeah,
I totally was thinking something else going into this, but hello, nurse,
no, I
bring it
mean
on.
it'd be cool, but it would really kill the legitimacy of the World Cup, because you're talking about all the nations that have won that thing
Oh yeah,
automatically out.
yeah.
I mean, it's
And
not the same at all.
no, it isn't. And they have like what they were trying to do, which was the genesis of the Club World Cup, or kind of on more of a
Yeah, that's
national
gone
level.
too.
Yeah, and what they're trying to revive it on more of a national level, because I heard something about the meeting between the European champions like Italy, Argentina. They're working out and getting sort of a match together, so something like that. And you're absolutely right. All your top two confederations, the backbone of international football and a lot of club football. The reason why I say more outlaw tournaments, if they follow through and if it gets this far with breaking away, because we're sitting here. I know which ones I would watch. I know
Right.
which ones more casual fans would watch. And it wouldn't be FIFA minus those two confederations. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
mean, we'd
It
still
wouldn't.
watch for the US teams to want to play
Yeah, we
some of these
would,
other
of course.
nations, right?
Yeah.
But that's very few and far between. You like you said, any casual fan or even just hardcore football soccer fans, you're gonna go more towards that. I mean, people could talk shit about and I was not a fan of it either, and I don't know how you felt about it, but everybody came together to be against the European Super League, right? And we talked about how bad this was for soccer, football, all that. And then they're kind of trying to do the same thing here,
Yeah.
except for you don't have as much uh uniform or unilateral acceptance, because all those other countries that are not
Got a
Europe
little bit
and
of freeze there, but I mean,
CONMEBOL,
yeah.
they're kind of actually for it.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, right?
Yeah, and even UEFA is turning the tables because of their coming expansion of the Champions League and now what they have with UEFA Conference League. If all of this goes on, it made UEFA turn around saying, you know what, maybe we're right about this European Super League, but let's at least get together and do something. And I even had my whole
Well,
scenarios about all
I
that.
think
But
it's
yeah,
different because expanding the Champions League lets other nations. I mean, you're not really letting these smaller nations in. You're just letting the bigger countries have more teams, but still, it's expanding it to making it a bigger thing.
mm-hmm.
Doing the what is it the and even the conference means you're letting more people into European football from those
Yeah,
smaller
yeah,
nations and everything. I mean, the FIFA World Cup is every 2 years is adding more games on top of
yes.
that. So
And
that's yeah.
And with what Arsene Wenger now wants on top of a biennial World Cup, he's saying, you know what? Maybe instead of all of these different international breaks and windows, we just have one big chunk every year. Dedicate that to international football, and that's it. I look at that and I'm like, how is that going to make any sort of sense? How is that
Well,
making
let's
any sort of
let's
sense?
talk about that. So here's the outline of these ideas, and we kind of need to get through this quickly because I didn't realize how much time we already spent on the show here. So here is the ideas that are being outlined by Arsene Wenger here. Biennial World Cup every 2 years. So that would mean that the Euros or Copa America or Gold Cup or whatever your next tier are in the odd years, which would
Mm-hmm.
mean that they would go right up against the Women's World Cup, which
Mm-hmm.
would mean that the Women's World Cup has even less viewers than it does now. So if you want to say the Women's World Cup every 2 years, I still say that's not a bad idea.
Mm-mm.
But the Men's World Cup every 2 years, and you keep having the continental tournaments,
No.
it's absolutely dire for the women's game because people are not going to watch Women's World Cup. They're going to watch the Euros. They're going to watch Copa America. They're going to watch, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe not the Gold Cup, but they're going to watch those. So, that's going to affect Women's World Cup. Oh, that's not great. But, okay, so here's what Erik is talking about. Either 1 in October or 2 October and March, mid-season international breaks for a month in total. When qualifying for major tournaments will take place, groups of 4 countries are in a division with a playoff for a maximum of 7 matches during that time. So you know how we're talking about, well, there's 3 matches in a 1-week window, and this really puts a damper on the domestic leagues because why? You have a lot of these players that don't play in the next game for their club because they're just coming off that international break. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them do, but like what we saw with Harry Maguire from Manchester United or some others, they're not like up to form still. So and he also just came back from an injury as well, so it gave him a
Right.
little bit of a. But either way, that's a lot of games, and it's over in a month period. You're all kind of there on international break, and then of course, once you have their major tournaments, there's a guaranteed rest period of 25 days, which I think I was reading somewhere that Pedri had like 11 days between the end of the Euros and starting for Barca, which is insane to me that he didn't have more of a break. But yeah, I mean, this is this idea of having these, it's like basically, hey, it's international time. Go enjoy it. Basically, like a World Cup, but the World Cup like month long thing that we have, or the Euro month long thing,
Yeah.
but we're doing it with the international break.
The reason why I'm entirely against just the one single break, and this was a main element that got up, injuries. If you're
Yeah.
injured, even in that window, you're not potentially playing international football again for another year. And
Yeah.
yet, all the club football and everything, that would be great, but it's not the same, and especially how you would have to structure your groups for all the qualifying that. Now, October and March, and that being it.
Well, not just that, right? Like, let's say it's a big player that's injured.
Oh yeah.
Like that really affects your team's ability to be able to qualify if you're only doing qualification during that 1 month or 2 month period, right? So
Absolutely.
like that really is an issue. Whereas, okay, the way it's structured now, okay, he's injured in right. Like we had Christian Pulisic for the September games. He got injured, didn't have him for October, but okay, let's say maybe he's back in November. Well,
Mm-hmm.
let's say we just had the October window. What if it was all in October? Guess what? No Christian Pulisic, no Gio Reyna
At
for that
all.
entire
At all.
thing. So, man, that's a lot. And that's also a lot of games with still a lot of travel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I get what Arsene Wenger's saying. It cuts some of the travel down. The calendar's kind of outdated. But this doesn't really give every country a chance because
No.
for a lot of these countries, like let's say Egypt with Mo Salah, or especially some of these African countries, like all it takes is that one big star player, and that team is not the same. And if you had to play the qualifiers all in that one window where that one star player is not around, oh man, that team's probably not making the World Cup.
Not at all.
Whereas they had a chance to make it if that one or two star players are around. So, like Jamaica just had with Mikel Antonio, right? Like Mikel Antonio was going to show up and then he decided not to. If he just said, okay, well, guess what? I'm not doing that. And well, Jamaica doesn't have Mikel Antonio or Leon Bailey or some other players for the entire octagonal. Wow.
Yeah, done and
You
dusted.
know?
And even with that, that's why I would lean towards okay, if you split it up at least between October and March, you have some level of flexibility, but also knowing that's the only window you get. How would the confederations even structure their qualifying process?
They
That's
just
another
said it,
huge
right?
thing to
A
consider.
maximum of 7 matches. So
So
you
in
would have
some,
to. They're playing less games, is what he's also trying to say. Like
yeah,
you're not going to play as many games. You're going to do like you'd have to start thinking about okay, you only get one, either home or away, or perhaps you do it like if you're CONCACAF. Well, I mean, you have to let people go to their home stadiums because that's really unfair.
hmm
So, like, yeah, you might have to say, okay, well, the U.S. you're gonna play in Honduras, in Costa Rica, and in Panama, and Mexico doesn't play in Azteca against you. They're gonna play in the U.S. or whatever. So, I mean, that's the only way that I could think of it. If you're only gonna have a maximum of 7 matches, you're gonna have to pick and choose who gets away games and who
yeah.
gets the home
And
games.
even then, depending on how many teams that you've got you're qualifying, not just who gets the home and away matches, how many teams in what rounds, how are you going to have to shorten it? Because even if you say you keep the quadrennial World Cup, you've got 3, maybe 4 windows.
Well, it seems like they wouldn't do this if you're not going to do the every 2 years.
Yeah, okay. So if you have this and you have the biennial World Cup, so you're looking at what, 4, I would assume, 2 windows, 14 matches. Are
Yeah.
you looking at a lot more knockouts? Like how you have in some of the lower rounds, or like how you have it in early rounds in African qualifying? That would make sense if you're trying to get everybody and then shrink it down. Because some of these
What?
confederations are just big.
Well, yeah, I would assume that they would perhaps some of these smaller countries, rather the Caribbean, maybe wouldn't adhere to this per se, and so they would have their matches in other time periods, or because like you can't have the octagonal at the same time that you're having the rest of it,
Hmm.
because how are you going to ever get to the octagonal?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they could potentially do what like they wanted to do with the hexagonal for your top 6 in CONCACAF, then a group stage and knockout for your other CONCACAF countries, and then that simultaneously in both windows. That's the only way I could consider that working, but that does a terrible disjustice to your Caribbean as well as Central American nations, because if you're not playing in any of these other windows and you're having this tournament,
Yeah, and then okay, so like for CONCACAF, right? Or
mhm,
I mean Europe, they have their groups, right?
yeah,
But like let's say Africa, they do this, where you have like a preliminary group stage, then you have the other one, and so like that first year that you're trying to um, qualify for the next World Cup is all the smaller nations playing. So
yep.
what are your bigger nations doing? What are they playing friendlies for that
Are they playing
year?
friendlies? Are you going to
Yeah,
have a sort of a revamped Nations League? Something. That's going to
right.
have to be discussed.
Yeah, and then the second one, that's when you have the octagonal. Like, okay, so I mean, that's the thing is there's a lot of stuff that you have to figure out there. That again, either some of these teams are going to have to not adhere to that calendar, or you're going to have to do it like that, and it's just that's really weird too because I thought the whole point was to try to especially if you're CONCACAF, the whole reason why you made the Nations League was so that you didn't have a bunch of friendlies that nobody cared about. It was
Mm-hmm.
to have games that people a little bit more thought and care about what you're
Right.
doing. So I mean, there's a lot into that. I still very much against an every 2-year World Cup. I think it's gonna get what everybody's. If you're Europe or CONMEBOL, I think you are gonna get the majority are gonna vote for it because you have so many other countries that do want to get that opportunity to possibly see themselves in a World Cup one day that you don't
Mm-hmm.
really get when it's every 4 years. You will get more of those opportunities when it's every two. And it does help people. Like Arsene Wenger's ultimate goal, right, is that he wants this to go back into the global game. He wants this to go into youth programs. I
Right.
do think you would see that happen.
Yeah, you would.
It's like the women's game, right? The more teams you add to the Women's World Cup, the more we've seen people actually invest in the women's game and have women's teams. You would see more countries invest into the youth programs and try to get better teams because there's more opportunity to make the World Cup. If you never think you're going to get there, then what's the point? Right? They're going to be like,
Precisely.
well, why even bother with this sport? We're good over here, right? Like India, for example. Like, okay, we're good at cricket. Why the hell would I spend all this money to make us good at soccer, right? Or even Venezuela, oh, we're great at baseball. Like, why am I gonna, do so much to so like there is some positives in this.
Mm-hmm.
But man, there's a whole lot of logistical mumbo jumbo that you gotta move
Yeah,
around to make
you'd
this
have
work.
to. Would you maintain that format, qualifying formats, everything else? There's a
Right.
lot of hurdles, and even then, selection processes too. How
Exactly.
far out in determining these hosts? So that's a whole big mess, as you said, to consider.
Exactly. Exactly. So let's get into supporter scarf really quick here, Eric. How about your Orlando and DC?
Oh, DC playing to kind of like a board draw with Nashville, Orlando. Got the 3 points against Cincinnati, 1-0, but just a terribly kind of uninspired. I mean, granted, Cincinnati trying to improve and get better, but they're still FC Cincinnati. So 1-0, great, but you could push for a bit more there. So at this point, with how the races in the East are looking, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's getting really tight. Things continue to stay the pace. New York Red Bulls win to pull even with New York City FC now. So that is just getting tighter and tighter in the East. Um, I worry for your mental health as it gets closer and closer to the playoff
Yeah,
picket time there.
yeah, we're still both of my teams are above the red line, but not by much. Not by much.
Yeah, not by much. I mean, and Seattle has lengthened their lead over Sporting KC and the rest, and Colorado to a full 5 points. And then when you get Sporting KC and Colorado, you got another like gulf between them, and then you got Portland again a little bit ahead of the rest. So, and you do have a little bit of a log jam there between Real Salt Lake, LA Galaxy, Minnesota, Vancouver, and LAFC sort of in with a shout a little bit, but the West a little bit more defined. The East, man, when you get past the craziness that is New England, that the rest of that's man, it's a little bit up for grabs right now. That East, so watch out.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can hang on, and maybe hoping we don't have to play each other right away. Cause no, just
Yeah, that's always the
no.
one you don't hope for at all. So for me, FC Dallas didn't play in this. Well, yeah. Did they play in this window? Not sure. So no MLS stuff for me, but pretty much except for Valencia that hit the roadblock that is Barcelona, everybody else did well. Erling Haaland came back for Dortmund and got 2 goals and beat Mainz at home. Heck of 2 goals for Haaland as well. One of them in stoppage time, as he always seems to. That's one of the times he comes calling. It's around that time, stoppage time for Erling Haaland to score. But good on Dortmund. They keep pace with Bayern Munich. They're a point behind them right now. So the chance to thrash the 10-year run for Bayern Munich is still on for Dortmund. I'm happy about that. And they showed a bit more mojo on defense in this game. So even without Guerrero, so I'm very proud of them for that. America did the absolute last ditch thing in the 96th minute. 6 minutes of stoppage time, and in the freaking last second, they get the goal. Roger Martinez just like it's there in the box. He kind of takes a hit at it and it goes past the keeper. I mean, America just keeps getting this luck in Liga MX. I'm gonna ride that wave. I guess beating Atletico San Luis 1-0 there. Craziness with them here. AC Milan goes down 2-0 against Verona. Within the first 25 minutes, Olivier Giroud comes on, hits a header in the second half. They get a penalty that very well earned by Kessie. And then, wouldn't you know it, Verona gets undone by their own player. And Gunther hitting an own goal. It looked like he was actually trying to score on the net. It was weird. It's weird. It's like he's the defender, but he has this look like he's trying to score, and it goes in, and it's just not great if you're a Verona to lose like that with an own goal. But Milan keeps pace with Napoli and ahead of Inter, their rivals right now. So very happy with how Milan is playing, and a Daniel Maldini signing in the first half as well. So props to him there as far as what's going on there. Valencia, they had their moments, but Serginho Dest bested Yunus Musa on this day. Serginho Dest played he played really well, Erik, and Barcelona they finally look like Barcelona a little bit.
Dare we say, could they be back?
I mean, it helps when you get Ansu Fati back, right? And he scored the first goal. It looked really great. The team looked much more motivated. They were able to keep Valencia at bay, even though they had some chances. I was disappointed in that, but man, it is good for the league though to see Barcelona doing well. I mean, at least playing well, and then we'll see what they do against Dynamo Kiev and see if they can finally get that first win in Champions League, so they don't keep looking really bad as they have been in those first 2 games that they played. And speaking of, Marseille looked really good against Lorient. They went down early to a penalty, but then Kamara with a belter, and then the Arsenal loanee Matteo Guendouzi, he got that Nations League for France, and then he goes on, and especially the 90th minute freaking crazy header that he gets, where it's like he's off balance and it just loops over the goalkeeper, was pretty fantastic on that end. But hey, again, Marseille just keep it in there. They're like a point behind Lens. And then, of course, PSG is ahead of everybody right now by like 9 or 10 points. So they're kind of comfortable in Ligue 1, but they get to play PSG pretty soon. So we'll be interested to see what that team looks like, because right now PSG has not been playing well. Angers deserved to get more from that match against PSG last that they played. So on Friday. So I'll be looking ahead to this and see what's going on before we get to La Classique. So That's going to be it for the show. Sorry we went a little bit long on this edition, but we had a lot to go through, a lot to talk about.
And we
Hopefully you
didn't even get
enjoyed.
to the Felipe Hernandez story
No,
either.
we didn't. We'll have to save that. Well, that was the one that I said we gotta pick one that we don't talk about here because there was just too much to discuss. That one was kind of the odd one out. So we'll see what happens. Depending on what happens this week, maybe that will sneak in and we'll talk about that one for next week. But until then, hopefully you enjoyed what you heard or watched. If you watched on YouTube later, or you watched live on Twitch, or you watched later on Twitch, or watched on the Facebook page, we appreciate it. Thank you for that. And you can follow me at WTM Sean, Erik at Squid Sports Head, at WTM Network for everything else. You can go listen to, if you subscribe to WTM Network, you get all of our stuff. Erik's football show, the kickoff. You get the Life is Like a Game show, which has been red hot fire recently, going through that Legends of the Hidden Temple. Mark and I will have a new episode of Video Game Cinemax basically today by the time you're listening or hearing this. And then, Mark Riley through all his entertainment stuff. They just reviewed the No Time to Die, James Bond. So if you've been looking forward to that movie, you can definitely go check that out over there. Of course, go visit at w10net.com. Last Word on Soccer as well. We are available. So until next week, we'll see y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.